Hi, my name is Randy, and I'm going to be presenting a timeline of prophecy that pertains to the scripture we're living out in accordance with the Holy Bible and the Gregorian calendar. This is going to be a brief overview of our scripture, and it is not going to contain all of the details as to how I arrived at this information. Now I'm going to start with the top timeline here at the midway point where it says 5/3/2033, which is the center point of the future tribulation period. May 3rd of 2033 is the date that is centered around the mark of the beast described in the Bible. It is also the date centered around the second beast of Revelation and the fourth beast of Daniel coming together. And we're going to take a look at some scripture that supports that. In the book of Daniel, there were 4 beasts that were prophesied, the third being America. When you go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 23, you have a description of the fourth beast. And when you decode that verse via Gematria, in the King James Version, you get a value of 706. The 706 prime number is 5,333. In the New International Version, which is written differently than the King James Version, when you decode the quotations of the verse, you get a value of 717. The 717th prime number is 5,431, and the 5,431st prime number is 53,233. In the box below, you have the entire text of the book of Revelation, and when you decode the text of Revelation, you get a value of 532,033. Now, all these mathematical values have a relationship because they all read like a date, May 3rd, 2033. They all have a logical relationship because they all pertain to end times prophecy. Now, to take a step back to the beginning of the timeline, the date centered around the beginning of the tribulation period is November 2nd of 2029. And the timeline you're looking at is essentially representative of the remaining 1,007 years of human history. And not too long after tribulation begins, the date centered around the second beast of Revelation, quote unquote, coming out of earth, is January 9th of 2030. And again, we're going to take a look at some scripture that supports that. Now, if you read Revelation 13 in the New International Version, you notice that verses 11 through 17 are separated from verse 18. When you decode the verses 11 through 17, you get a value of 9,130. Many people in the world would read that like a date, January 9th of 2030, just like I just presented. Now, the reason why verses 11 through 17 are separate is because it's meant to illustrate a time period in which the second beast of Revelation, quote unquote, comes out of earth and rules until the end when you're forced to take his mark, which is May 3rd of 2033. And in the remainder of the timeline, you have the remaining 42 months in which the beast continues to rule. In accordance with biblical prophecy, the Antichrist has a deadly wound, and when he comes back, he is Satan incarnate. So for 42 months, you have an actual beast that rules. And the dates centered around the Battle of Armageddon and the transition to the Millennial Kingdom are November 2nd and November 3rd of 2036. Now, who is the Antichrist that is going to rule during this time frame? I'm going to present to you what's been communicated to us. Now, most people are familiar with the verse Revelation 13:18, where it talks about calculating the number of the beast, and his number being 666. When you decode this verse via Gematria, you get values of 1229 and 473, like you see here in front of you. When President Obama won the 56th presidential election, he was declared victorious on November 4th of 2008. And on this day, he was exactly 47 years and 3 months old, just like the value of Revelation. And on January 20th, 2009, when he was sworn in on the only date on the Gregorian calendar that can read like the other value of Revelation 13:18, 1, 2, 29. Now, this is a man who does have a value of 666 in his name, and I'm going to show you here momentarily. He is a male political figure who has been accused of not desiring women. He has the lineage that would be more relatable across the world. He is a peaceful and likable person. Now, in the below box, what you have is his values of his name in the 4 most important ciphers of Gematria: 163, 64, 323, and 116. And when you add those up, you get a sum of 666. So when he arrived at the world stage, he had a very improbable pairing of the 2 revelation numbers, as well as his name Gematria having a value of 666. Now, I also would like to note the date centered around the mark of the beast of the Bible. Mr. Obama will be 71 years old in 9 months. And when you read numbers like a language, what you see here is a 903rd prime number, which is 7,019. And that's important because 903 is the 42nd triangular number. And it's symbolic because the beast rules for 42 months. And on November 3rd of 2036, Mr. Obama will be 903 months old as well, which is, again, the 42nd triangular number. And in accordance with biblical prophecy, on November 3rd of 2036, you would see the demise of Satan. Now, the reason why I made this video is because, in my view, there's going to be a man in the near future that sits on his global throne and tell you he is God. And the coming times are going to be full of deceit and pure evil. So I think we need to be aware of what we're getting ready to get into. But my message is to not be as upset. Enjoy your life. Because as long as we do what's right in the flesh, not much else matters. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.